I'm curious. You say the government's so evil. Like, I haven't heard you say one good thing. Is there anything good that the government's doing?
They're really good at being evil. They do a great job. I said the thing about the Nazis, what they did with the Jews. They put up incredible numbers.
Yeah.
Insane.
Shout out.
So you don't
IBM.
think there's nothing that the government is doing that's good?
Oh, no, I mean...
Are there well-intentioned people in government?
Oh, yeah, sure. No, I think there are well-intentioned people in government, and I think that...
And they get shot in the head off.
But like, they will, if they're too well-intentioned, they know too much. But it's like, I don't know, like, of course there's things they do that are good, but in the same sense that there could be like a serial killer could still do something that's good in his life. Like he might, you know what I mean? Like a serial killer at some point, they might be like, will you donate another $1 for children who need so-and-so? And he's like, okay. And it's like, I think that the instrument itself is kind of evil. So
so anybody who plays it is just going to be complicit with the evil.
Yeah, you're gonna get caught up in that. It's like a system you can't. But in the same, it's like I look at the government as like a criminal organization, morally speaking. So in the same sense, if you were to ask me like, has a mob family ever done anything good? Like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they have.
Boston
I'm sure
was
there
good.
were. Yeah, I'm sure. Right, and I'm sure they did. Like even that guy, like like in any of those gangster movies you watch, I'm sure there was a time when some guy was like beating up his wife, and they went and tossed that guy a beating or something like that. Like, there's some good things they do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is that American government, or is that like capital G, the institution of government itself?
The institution everywhere.
Gotcha.
It's
So
all.
I think I think the illusion that we have is that every other country's government is corrupt except ours. Right? Like that's kind of how like Americans go into it. Maybe black Americans are a little bit more distrusting of the government, but once you find out that there are these government institutions or just like corporate entities in general that are operating with like high level collusion and corruption, it's kind of a staggering moment.
What's even I think that's right. But what's even crazier to me is that people who are kind of like on to the government corruption and start realizing how corrupt this whole system is, still, if there's a conflict between us and Russia, they kind of snap back to their like, no matter how corrupt they see our government as being, they could still never see it like Russia. You know what I mean? Like it's been amazing, particularly with the war, since the war in Ukraine broke out, how many people in the US will just be like, we can't stand for someone invading a sovereign country. And you're like, you are familiar with very recent history, right? Very recent. Like I'm not saying like 80 years ago we did something like this. I'm saying we're still there. Like we still have troops in Iraq right now. We still have troops in Syria right now. Is it like what world are you living in that like the vehicle we have is our government. So what you think that's DC's motive is that they're just like, we just can't stand by while someone invades another country.
So what is your solution?
Well, I mean, like ultimately the solution would be for government to stop doing a lot of the evil stuff that they're doing.
But how do we get that? I'm asking you as like someone I consider a leader in this idea. What would your solution be? I'm not like trying to do gotcha.
Well, we're already in trouble if I'm the leader. But I think that I really think that propaganda is incredibly powerful, like as I was saying before. And I think the fact that like there's so many like shows with huge audiences now that can kind of like shine a light on all this stuff, I think that's really powerful. So in short, I think like telling the truth is very, very powerful. And then in terms of what would actually roll back kind of government corruption, I don't know. I mean, I think there's something going on. We have not figured it out yet, but I'm not saying anything positive about how Donald Trump actually governed, but the fact that there was so much hunger for a Donald Trump-like figure, I think shows something of people waking up. I think
even Bernie too.
Bernie
was on both sides.
Bobby Kennedy, like all
Honestly,
these guys.
I'm not just saying this because I'm Indian. Vivek.
100%. Vivek Ramaswamy was like.
I mean, he took a very hard line on government corruption. I mean, when he was on the pod, I was like, what if this corruption benefits us in certain ways? Like hypothetically, what if these government policies, this interventionism that we're doing benefits us and gives us a better lifestyle? Would you, if you found that out, would you still want to go through it? And would you still want to go through it if it meant getting rid of the managerial class? That's what he talks about. I'm sure you've heard the term.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, the people deserve a government that represents them for better or worse. So he's like, I will take a shittier America or higher price for food or higher price for medication, whatever it is, if we're actually making the decisions, or there are people representing our decisions.
Yeah, how would you answer that?
Well, I think that, so I'd say that I think if there's one like kind of universal truth that I've found in my life is that like lying to yourself is destructive. I think it's worse than lying to other people. And lying to other people is bad too, but lying to yourself is like the most powerful, destructive thing you can do. And so if it were the case that us going in mass slaughtering a bunch of people in Iraq and Libya and Afghanistan and Syria and Yemen and Somalia and all these places, that gave us a higher standard of living, then let's look ourselves in the mirror and have that honest conversation. Is that who we are? Is the role of the United States of America that we are the world empire and we're going around to take your shit and give it to us? And if you want to have that honest conversation with yourself and then conclude, yes, that's what we're going to do, then at least have that honest conversation. Don't sit here and pretend.
I've had that conversation. This is why I know I ain't shit. I've been like, yeah, all right. You know what I mean? My life is much better. So either I can leave or I can just accept this is what it is, and I ain't leaving.
Well, fair enough.
Unless there's another empire coming and I'm jumping ship.
That's the first step would be to ask that question. But I just don't believe that it's true. I think that it has made there's special interests that have benefited tremendously off of all of those wars. But I don't know. I mean, I'm like looking around the country. It's like, no, I don't think this has been good for not only our economy, but just like our soul. Yeah. I don't think it's, I know that's a Biden thing. He said the soul of the nation or whatever.
No, I agree.
There's something to that.
You want people to be proud of the country they're living in. I think an American pride right now is at an all-time low, and you got to give them something to be proud of. I've actually thought a lot about this. Like a friend of mine, I got to give him credit, Ben Uyeda. I was like, why are you proud to be American? And he's like, I think you can be the best version of yourself here. And I thought that to me is America and something you still can be represented by. Yeah. And but it was important. I thought it was like July 4th, and we were thinking about like doing a piece on it. And it was like, why should we? I think, we have to bolster some like American sentiment. This is a great country. This is amazing. There's always opportunity. We get to be fucking comedians running around talking shit. And we actually get to, provide for our families. But he brought that up, and he was like, yeah, we can be the best version of ourselves here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always been the best thing about America is that you could kind of be the author of your own story, and you can kind of like, it's never been perfect, never will be perfect, but it's like, you could like make something of yourself, and I think we very much take it for granted. It has not been true in most of the world for most of human history that you could like come from something kind of humble and make something really cool of yourself here, and that's awesome. But in terms of like, say, like the war stuff and dominating the rest of the world, I don't see any evidence that that's connected to, like that the two are connected. I mean, look, even after we get hit on 9/11, we launched the war on terrorism in late 2001. We start the war in Afghanistan. 2003, the war in Iraq. In 2008, we have the worst financial recession in 100 years. Yeah. I don't like see this evidence that it's like, oh, this is building up our great economy. Well, it's really beneficial to Lockheed Martin and
but to the average American, it's not.
I don't think so.